Hey y'all, have you opened your Bible today? Now's your chance. I'm inviting you to open your Bible with me. I mentioned in an earlier video that I read through Galatians pretty slowly and I got a lot out of it. I loved it and I've been rereading it, and I just thought since I'm rereading it, I would invite you to read it with me. So let's start in Galatians 1. I'm not going to read all of Galatians 1. It's only 24 verses. Open your Bible or your Bible app and read it yourself and get what you get out of it. I'm just going to tell you some things that I got out of it. Galatians 1, Paul is explaining the gospel. Not the first time. He's had to do it a few times. He's annoyed in this letter. He's annoyed. Galatians is a fun book to read because it's not as nice as the other letters that Paul has written. He gets pretty hot in this book, and it's entertaining thousands of years later for us to read. But I love this. In Galatians 1 verse 10, he says basically, if I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Just in general, defending your beliefs or trying to convince people of anything really is a tough position to be in. And Paul didn't even live in the time that we live in, where you have like social media and YouTube and everybody has a camera in their pocket and can say whatever they want. And people will choose to believe it or not based on nothing. But I love this sentence where he says, if I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. He is determined to preach the gospel, the good news, the message that God called him to preach. He truly did not care if other people liked him or not, or even he wanted them to believe him, but if they didn't believe him, he wasn't like gonna quit over it. He was just gonna press on harder. I love that he recognized and said out loud for us to read thousands of years later, ultimately our goal is to please God and to serve him, and we want to have God's favor here on earth, but whether people like us or not doesn't affect the message that we carry out to the rest of the world, right? If you're trying to please people, then are you really serving Christ, or are you trying to please people? He also spends a lot of chapter 1 just like giving his resume, basically, his credentials. He's like, here's why you should believe that I'm preaching the gospel, right? He sort of reminds people and reiterates that he used to be enemy number 1 to Christians, and that now he is an apostle of God preaching the good news. And so I went back and read in Acts 9, like the origin story of Saul/Paul. What struck me the most about that, reading that story, was not actually Paul, but Ananias, because Paul was known to be a persecutor of Christians. He was well known for that. And God asks Ananias to go minister to Saul. And I don't know the conversation that Ananias had with God about that, but he probably wasn't thrilled about that assignment. He knew that it could lead to him being arrested for his faith, or worse than that. In Acts, it doesn't say that God said, go minister to this man, I will keep you safe. It said, go, for this man is my instrument. And according to Acts 9:1 through 19, Ananias doesn't argue or bargain. He doesn't go, okay, God, I'll go if you promise to keep me out of jail. He just went. He just went. He risked it all so that his worst enemy could become a fellow believer. His obedience was part of Paul's origin story. Ananias is partially responsible for the New Testament. I admire that level of faith, and that the faith leads to the obedience, right? Ananias had so much faith in God and his plan, and was so focused on, I'll just do what the Lord wants me to do no matter what, that it produced in him obedience even unto the threat of persecution. Thanks for opening your Bible with me today. Happy reading.